Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited to have you at our public service grad degree Carsey School of Public Policy information session. I'd just like to begin by going over some quick just Zoom housekeeping. Please feel free to use our chat feature to throw in any questions that you might have during the presentation. We are also going to be opening up for a question and answer session at the end of the information session. So we want to make sure that any questions that you might have, please feel free to send them to us and we'll be excited to answer them along the way. And then we are excited to meet who we have joining us this evening. But I'd like to have us introduce who we have here today. So Jolan, I think we can probably go to the next slide. So this is our academic team from the Carsey School. I will start by introducing Stephen Bird. He is the Carsey School Director. And before I have the rest of the team introduce themselves, my name is Cheyenne. I am the Assistant Director for the online graduate recruitment team. So that's who I am. You may very well have already interacted with one of us if you have already inquired about one of our programs. And I'll let Jolan take it.
Thanks, Shiana. Good evening, folks. My name is Jolan Rivera. I coordinate the MCD program as well as teach courses in the MCD and GCHS programs. I will speak a little bit more about the MCD program in another program, but before that, I would like to just pass it to Melinda and Robin for brief introductions. Go ahead, Melinda.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I am Associate Professor Melinda Negron-Gonzales, and I am the Director for the Global Conflict and Human Security Program, and I'm going to pass it to Robin.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Robin Husledge with the Carsey School of Public Policy, excuse me, and I am sort of your first stop. If you have any questions, want to know more information about any of the academic degree programs, when to apply, really any kind of question you have, I'm your first stop, and I can connect you with faculty or current students or alums. Happy to help out in any way I can. So welcome. We're very happy to have you here this evening.
Thanks, Robin. And other than faculty, alumni, and other students, Robin can also connect you to Ann Kimball. She's one of our colleagues that works on student services, as well as Sanjeev Sharma, who takes care of admissions and advising. So without further ado, I would like to give you a little bit of a context of where our academic programs reside. The academic programs reside within a school, and we call it the Carsey School of Public Policy. It does a lot of things, but perhaps it is limited amount of time. I would like to focus on three major things that Carsey does. The first is that it's on research. It conducts research. It discovers knowledge. It validates knowledge on social, economic, and political issues that are of importance to residents of New Hampshire, as well as the United States, and equally important overseas. Other than research, we also engage in education, which is knowledge sharing. So if research is knowledge building and validation, education is knowledge sharing. So we have folks, faculty, colleagues that are able and willing to provide knowledge and skills that are relevant to community development, global conflict, human security, public administration, as well as social policy. Last but not least, a third area of work that CARS engage in is engaging communities, developing dialogue, developing ways by which communities can really have control over conversations on matters that affect their lives directly. There's more on Carsey, so please visit our website for more in-depth knowledge of what Carsey does. But just very briefly, for example, we have 4 research centers. The Center for Impact Finance, which, among others, undertakes research, coordination, as well as training on development finance, housing, etc., those that actually impact underserved communities. We also have our Center for Demography that analyzes forces that affect population change that and in return would affect communities. A third research center within CARSey is the Center for Social Policy in Practice, which looks at quantitative and qualitative data and how to translate them into actionable community insights. For example, in early childhood care, in food access, etc. And last but not least, we have New Hampshire Listens. It is a platform, it is a venue by which communities can learn, relearn, assert what they already know when it comes to engaging stakeholders in community change, including the residents themselves, community leaders, and those that are internal and external to the change process. It's another set of information that is available in our website. Please make sure to visit them. But I think we are here today, folks, to talk about our academic programs. And we have 4 of them. Okay, all of them, dovetailing towards serving the mission of the organization or CARSey when it comes to its educational pursuits. We have 4 academic programs, and Melinda and I are going to introduce them to you with some detail, knowing that, given the limited amount of time, we can only talk about a number of things. So please feel free to explore more of it, either through our websites or through Robin and our other staff. So let me start with the Master in Community Development, or we'll refer to it as MCD. So central to the concept of community development, at least for this program, is the ability of communities to create their own change. But because of historical and institutional inequities, sometimes these communities need partners. And this is where the MCD program comes in. It provides practitioners, seasoned and aspiring, new and old, to be able to gain useful knowledge and skills that will help in their partnering with communities that would like to create change in access to capital or managing their own organization, dealing with policy, as well as designing, managing, and evaluating community development projects. Specifically, it provides skills in facilitating effective and efficient change. Effective is when we ask the question, are we doing the right things to create change? Well, efficiency is, are we doing things right? Are we doing it in the proper way? One of the highlights of the Masters in Community Development is its capstone project, which consists of 4 courses that shepherd students through the process of coming up with a community development idea, investigating whether or not indeed the idea is relevant and resonates with real communities, designs the project, plans for it, and implements some of its activities. Towards the end, it really is sharing their experience through the process. One of the folks that went through this program is Janie Bright. Janie is Vice President for the local government Federal Credit Union in Raleigh, North Carolina. She did her degree in 2020, focusing her capstone on how to raise or come up with resources that will help a nonprofit that assists marginalized communities in making their homes safe. And flash thing at the bottom here, this program now has a 12-month executive MCD program, which I will be discussing in more detail in the next couple of slides. Like Janie, going through the MCD program will provide you with knowledge and skills to be a number of things, perhaps a community development director, an international development officer, a community engagement coordinator, fundraising coordinator, policy analyst, and the like. For instance, one of our graduates, Alice Seco, is a community engagement manager. She manages community engagement and inclusion at New Hampshire Housing. He is also part of the City Council in Concord, New Hampshire. Okay. First immigrant, in fact, to be part of the council. He also was awarded the 40 under 40 for outstanding leadership in New Hampshire. And Ali has a very interesting and inspiring journey. He actually is a new American from Niger who came to the States in 2012, lived in Concord, worked for a local supermarket from 2016 to 2023 in progressive roles, and at the same time earning his undergraduate and graduate degrees. He eventually capped or earned his MCD degree in 2020. So the MCD program, as I mentioned earlier, for the first time is going to have a 12-month executive MCD program. So what does that mean? So let's look at the program itself. Okay, the program is offered fully online. You will never show up in a classroom, in a physical classroom. You don't show up in Durham, except when you graduate, hopefully. Okay, that you come over, we'll meet you, you march, we celebrate your accomplishment. But the learning piece is done online. And when we say online, it is both synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous being every now and then, like once a week for certain courses, you meet at a certain time online. Like in my classes, it's 5:30 to 7 o'clock or 5:30 to 7:30 sometimes, every Tuesdays or sometimes Wednesdays, announce ahead of time so that you can schedule your life. And the asynchronous part is actually having assignments, having discussions where you don't have to meet all at the same time. You're given a certain period, let's say 1 week, to accomplish something on your own asynchronously. So the difference between the executive MCD and the MCD programs are the MCD program is 12 courses. You complete 36 credits worth of courses, total would be 12, while if you earn the executive MCD or you go through the executive MCD route, the number of courses actually goes down to 10, which means that it is equivalent to 30 credits. So perhaps the question is, who qualifies for executive MCD? These are potential students or actual practitioners with at least 5 years experience, relevant experience in community development. So you come to class and learn a variety of things. There are 5 courses that are considered core, like, the history, theory, background of community development approaches, economics, for example, and development. Or how about fiscal management, accounting and financial management, and how does it relate to community development? Also, organizational management. How do you run an organization? How do you lead an organization? And last but not least, policy. How does policy affect the way we undertake community development? And then you have these experiential courses, which is really your capstone coming up. Introduction to community development. How do you design, plan, implement, monitor, and evaluate a program? Then you have elective courses. If you are completing the FCD program, then you need 3 elective courses. However, if you qualify into the executive MCD, then you only take 1 elective course. So all in all, it's 10 courses. So how long does it take? For executive MCD folks, you can actually do it as short as 12 months. If you do 2 courses per term, a term at Carsey is 8 weeks, and Melinda for online programs. Melinda's going to expound on this in a later slide. Or you can actually do it in 24 months if you take 1 course per 8-week term. I know these are all important things, but an equally important consideration is how much does it cost. So for MCD students taking 36 credits, it's $31,680, and this is for out of state. It's lower if it's in state, if you're from New Hampshire. And executive MCD, given that it is of less number of courses, will be at $26,400 out of state. Again, significantly less expensive if you're in state. So that, folks, is the MCD program. Now let's talk about the MPA program, which is the Master of Public Administration, which is geared towards advancing executive leadership in public and nonprofit organizations. So it's an online degree similar to the MCD program, except that it is 100% asynchronous unless you choose a capstone that will require for synchronous classes, but they're all online. And the focus would be on folks who are interested in furthering their knowledge and skills in public administration and nonprofit leadership. As I mentioned, there's a 12-month executive MPA program. So similar to the 12-month executive MCD program, there's also a 12-month executive MPA program for those who have 5 or more years of management experience. And then you gain skills and knowledge both in public service and nonprofit management. I'll show some of the courses in the next slide. For example, one of our alumni, Robert Buxton, he is currently the director of New Hampshire Department of Safety, Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. In terms of background, for example, he used to be a fire chief in Hudson, New Hampshire, a deputy fire chief in the same town progressively over the years, and he took his MPA between 2017 and 2019. What could you be, or what could you aspire for as an MPA graduate? A number of things. Seat administrator, perhaps, or manager, development and fundraising officer, economic development director, law enforcement professional, or you could be Brittany Matthews. Okay? Brittany is one of our alumni. She is currently the Director of Policy and Advocacy at the Center for Higher Education and Policy in New Hampshire. Her capstone is a collaboration work with a New Hampshire state initiative called Live, Free, and Start that focused on engaging startup businesses to build support and create a sustainable foundation for them moving forward. There are a number of positions that Brittany took on in the past. And Brittany went through a number of courses. Okay? She could either have, if you're interested in becoming a Brittany, you can take the Executive MPA, which is 10 courses, 30 credits, like the Executive MCD, if you have at least 5 years of management experience, or go through our more traditional 12-course, 36-credit MPA program, taking the following courses. Again, similar to MCD, it has basic core courses, advanced core courses, as well as 2 tracks. So example of courses that you take would be Foundations and Theories of Public Administration, Organizational Management, Statistical Analysis, Grant Writing, Strategic Communications, Leadership Theory and Practice, etc. Okay. This helped mold Brittany into becoming who she is in terms of knowledge and skills to further her career goals. How long does it take? Similar to the MCD program. Again, if you're in the executive track, it takes 12 months if you take 2 courses per term, or 24 months if you take just 1 course per term. Or it can even be more. You can actually talk to your academic advisor to provide you with more to advise on how to get anything between 12, 24, or even more. The cost, again, is very similar with the MCD program. Executive MPA, $26,400 out of state. For MPA regular, $31,680 out of state. And that, folks, is the MCD and MPA program. I'm going to now pass the mic, so to speak, to Melinda to talk about the MS in Global Conflict and Human Security. Take it away, Melinda.
Thank you, Jolan. Hi, everyone. So I'm going to talk a bit about the Global Conflict and Human Security Masters. It is a 12-month, fully online professional degree for those who are working in or seeking to work in the global development, humanitarian assistance, peace building, or global affairs fields. It's an interdisciplinary program. We use theories from political science, economics, sociology, anthropology, law, and it is especially designed for working professionals. We have 2 tracks that you can take in the program that I'll talk about in a moment. And the GCHS students, of course, join students in other CARSey programs in courses, but also in the Washington, D.C. colloquium, which I'll talk about more in a minute. And up here we have one of our alumni, Maria Daniel, who was in the Air Force while she did the program. She was stationed in Guam and did the GCHS program from Guam, then was restationed in New Mexico, and that was not a problem because the program is fully asynchronous, which means that we have no class meetings in person or online. And so everything is done asynchronously. She is currently an emergency management apprentice with the U.S. Air Force, and she has served as an intern here in New Hampshire at the New Hampshire State Police Department. She's also been an intern for emergency management plans and operations, and so she was able to use some of her GCHS program courses to help with that kind of emergency management stuff that she does in her day-to-day. But she was also able to use her interest in gender issues, which is what she did her capstone on. And she was able to reach out to women in New Mexico when she transferred from Guam to New Mexico. And she did her capstone on gender equality during COVID in New Mexico. And so you can see that our Carsey students have a wide range of interest, and the capstone experience really enables students to tailor their education to their interests and to their career aspirations. Maria's interested in working on gender issues, perhaps when she leaves the U.S. Air Force or while she's still in the Air Force. And so she was able to do a wide range of things while taking this program and taking these courses. Next slide, please. So what can you do with a GCHS degree? Many potential careers. Foreign aid specialist, of course, this is a program that really talks a lot about foreign aid. So we've had a lot to talk about in our classes recently. A monitoring and evaluation specialist, a program manager, a foreign service officer, a humanitarian aid worker, an international development specialist, a policy analyst, U.S. Army Civil Affairs officer. We're currently working on a partnership with the U.S. Army at Fort Bragg. And then finally, a research associate. And up here on this slide, we have another one of our GCHS alums, Andrew Sparaga, and he's located in Washington, D.C. He currently works for one of the federal agencies in D.C. I can't tell you which one, but he is a monitoring and evaluation specialist working on national security issues. And he's also a returned Peace Corps volunteer. He did his Peace Corps service in Namibia. Next slide. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit more about the GCHS program requirements. It is 10 courses. It's a 30-credit master's, and you have 5 courses that are required, and these are these interdisciplinary theory courses: international development and human security, conflict and human security, global governance, peace and post-atrocity states, and sustainable development, the gender environment nexus. And in all of those courses, we really work hard to connect theory to practice, because this is a professional master's that is designed for practitioners or those who want to become practitioners in these fields. And so it's really important to take that theory and see how it's put into action in the global development and humanitarian and global affairs fields. And so at Carsey, as Jolan mentioned with the other 2 programs, we really focus a lot on experiential learning. And that means that we want our students doing things for their capstone. The capstone experience actually traverses 4 classes, and we have 2 tracks. For the project management track in GCHS, you will take 4 courses on how to design a project in a conflict-affected community or a community experiencing humanitarian crises. And you will design it from scratch. You will design your methods for finding out more about that challenge in that community so that you can really elevate local voices. We're here to help people. And then you will implement and evaluate that particular project in your community. Of course, we don't expect students to travel. You're doing this in your community. And so if you're interested in working on food security in, let's say, Eastern Africa, but you live in Massachusetts, you'll do your capstone on food insecurity in Massachusetts and learn skills for project design, implementation, and evaluation, so that when you get that job working on food insecurity in Eastern Africa, you have all of those tools and skills that you've actually already applied during your capstone experience. Then we also have a second track in the program. It's the policy and administration track. And that's for those who really want to work more in the policy space, foreign policy or public policy. And so those students will also take some courses on project design, but then they will take more courses on policy. What is public policy? How do you evaluate public policies and design policies to meet challenges in those various communities of your choosing? And then you have an elective course, and you can choose any course at UNH, any graduate course, not just a CARSey course. There are many courses available. How long is the program? You can complete the program in 12 months, and that's with full-time participation, meaning that you are taking 2 courses every 8-week term. You can complete the program in 24 months, meaning that you would take 1 course in every 8-week term. And so here's the cost. How much? $715 of credit, which amounts to $21,450 total. Out-of-state tuition is more. Next slide. Okay, Master in Public Policy, and I'll talk about the Washington, D.C. colloquium when I talk about the MPP. So our last, but not least, program at CARSey is the Master in Public Policy, or the MPP, and this is our face-to-face on-campus program. We meet on campus in Durham, New Hampshire, and the MPP really is for those who are interested in tackling their community's biggest problems through engaging in policymaking and advocacy work, policy research and analysis, and also strategic communication. So this degree is a 16-month degree, and we have 2 separate tracks: strategy and communications, or policy analysis. And I'll talk more about those 2 specializations in a moment. And of course, because it's CARSey and we emphasize experiential learning, we really place a lot of emphasis on the capstone experience and on a policy internship experience. And I'll talk more about that in a moment. So let me talk about the 2 tracks. So the strategy and communications track is for students who really want policy careers as leaders, spokespeople, or strategists. And so you would take really cool courses like strategies for policy impact and media strategy and communication. And up here we have Sarah Reitzman, who is an alum of the MPP program. She's a manager, a community engagement and education manager at New Hampshire Housing. And she's received numerous awards: the UNH Alumni Sustainability Award. She received the 40 Under 40 Award, 10 to Watch winner. She was on the IT list, and she was the Civic Leader of the Year in 2018, received the Rising Star Award. So she's doing amazing things in her community. Her journey has taken her from executive director for the Workforce Housing Coalition of the Greater Seacoast in New Hampshire to being the housing coordinator for the Regional Economic Development Center of Southern New Hampshire. And then, as I mentioned, to being coordinator for community engagement at New Hampshire Housing. Many potential careers with an MPP degree. You can be a policy program researcher, political staff, and engage in leadership in government and public service. You can be a policy advocate, a legislative aide, staff, or management. a sustainability manager, a communications professional, a community outreach partner, a government affairs or government relations specialist, a consultant, a nonprofit president, a CEO, executive director, or COO of a nonprofit agency. Of course, you can run for office and become an elected official. You can do think tank research. Perhaps you'd like to stay on and become one of our research faculty at Carsey. And of course, you can be a policy analyst with an MPP degree. Up here we have Zachary Phillips. He is a law clerk at the New Hampshire Department of Justice, and he is an MPP JD graduate, actually. We do have an MPP JD program with the Franklin Pierce Law School at UNH. He's also the co-founder of Veterans Legal Justice, which is a nonprofit organization that's helping veterans find pro bono legal help in the state of New Hampshire. And his journey took him from being an electronic warfare officer in the Air Force to being a legal intern for the Maine Elder Law Attorneys and Office of Senator Susan Collins, to being a judicial intern for the New Hampshire Supreme Court, and then to being an executive officer and a U.S. Air Force reservist at the moment. Next slide. Okay, so a little bit more about the MPP course requirements. It's a 14 course or a 40 credit master's. And as I mentioned, it is on campus, it's face-to-face. You'll have some core required courses, 5 of them. Cool titles like Fundamentals of Policy Analysis, Policy Across Borders, which I teach, Strategy and Practice of Public Policy, Economics for Public Policy, Quantitative Methods for Policy Research, and then you'll have some experiential learning activities. The Washington, D.C. Colloquium is this fabulous program that all Carsey students in all 4 programs are eligible to participate in. And basically every January, the Carsey director, our Carsey director, Stephen Bird, gathers Carsey students in Washington, D.C. for a week, where they have this whirlwind tour of various organizations and public agencies so that you can see public policy in action. You can talk to the people who make policy, and you talk to some very senior people at federal agencies, at think tanks, at nonprofit organizations and NGOs. And it's a really fabulous way to build your network and to actually see policy in action. And again, students in all 4 of our Carsey programs can participate in the Washington, D.C. Colloquium, which happens 1 week at the beginning of January every year. In addition to that, you also have a faculty mentor who helps you design your policy capstone and your policy internship. Because we emphasize hands-on learning, it's really important for students to do an internship at an organization of interest to them, and you work with a faculty mentor on that. As I mentioned, you have 2 policy tracks that you can pursue. There's the strategy and communication track, and there's the policy analysis track, depending on your interest. And if you're not quite sure, that's what we're here for, to help you figure out which track best meets your needs and career aspirations. And then, of course, you have electives, and you can choose among a range of Carsey elective courses or any other electives in various programs across UNH, including, our masters in public health and other interesting master's programs that deal with more specific policy areas. How long is this program? It's 16 months, 4 courses a semester, and it costs $880 per credit. It's $35,200 total. Out of state is more. Okay, so just a few words about things like our academic calendar. So each program runs from 10 to 14 courses. The executive MPA, executive MCD, and the GCHS programs are all 10 courses. The others maybe up to 14 courses, and will take you anywhere from 12 to 16 months to complete if you are taking them as a full-time student. And each of the programs is customizable. You can choose specialization tracks, you can choose your electives, and 3 of the 4 are online. Some are online asynchronous, such as the GCHS program. Some are hybrid online, synchronous and asynchronous, like the MCD program. And the MPP program, again, is fully on campus in Durham. And we have 8-week terms that we use in our online degrees. I think that's the next slide. Yeah. So the 3 online programs, the Public Administration program, the GCHS Global Conflict and Human Security program, and the Master in Community Development all follow our online calendar at UNH, which is an 8-week term calendar. So you start in August during the typical fall semester start. So it's end of August typically. And that term runs through mid-October. And then you take a week break. And then it starts up again about the 3rd week of October and runs through mid-December. And then you have a 1-month break between mid-December and mid-January. Term 3 starts up in January, runs to March, a week break for spring break, and then it starts again mid-March to mid-May. And then we do have term 5, which runs from mid-May to mid-July over the summer, and you have another month-long break. So if you're doing the full-time track in one of these online degrees, you could actually start in August and complete your degree in July. Next. Okay, so the Washington, D.C. Colloquium, as I mentioned, is available to all CARSey students in each of the 4 programs. It happens during our January term, and so students prepare for that meeting in D.C. the first week of the term, and then the second week, students actually gather in Washington, D.C. with our CARSey school director, Stephen Bird, and they meet with policy practitioners. You learn about different career paths across multiple sectors. You discuss the current policy landscape, and you connect with working professionals for networking and career building opportunities. And what makes this so fabulous is that students from all 4 programs attend, and the interests are so varied, and people are at different levels of their career. And it really is a wonderful learning opportunity to learn from your peers at CARSey, in addition to learning from the policy experts and the policy practitioners in DC. And then you come back to New Hampshire or wherever your home is. Our students are actually located all over the country and all over the world, and you reflect on your experience and you write a paper. So it is done for academic credit. Next. Okay, I'm going to pass it back to Cheyenne.
Hi, everyone. So now that you've heard so much wonderful information about the program offerings through the CARSey School, I'm just going to quickly touch upon the University of New Hampshire. Maybe you're thinking about why UNH and what separates us from other institutions you might be looking into. So first and foremost, I think it's important to highlight that we are the public flagship institution of the state of New Hampshire. This is a real life picture of our campus. It is absolutely stunning. So it is just as beautiful in person as it is in this picture. So whether you have the opportunity to step foot on campus or not, being an online student, we like to make sure that you know that this campus is just as open to you as any in-person student would be. So we know that folks are coming from near and far. And then right behind that building, that clock tower right there, is our beautiful library. So again, just remembering that you are just as much a part of this community as any other student, even if you're just in the virtual space. We are classified as an R1 research institution. This is something that we're really proud of. We're about 1 in 40 schools in the country that has this designation without having a medical school. And in addition to that, we are a land, sea, and space grant institution. So again, just really up there. We're only about 1 in 24 schools in the entire country that holds that designation. So what that means is our students are conducting research at the highest level. And that really speaks and is a testament to our amazing online students and our faculty and staff as well. We are proud to offer small class sizes, our average class size not exceeding more than 15 students. So what that means is you're really going to be in an intimate setting with your peers as well as your faculty as well. To Jolan and Melinda's points earlier in the Zoom session, they were talking about hybrid and asynchronous and synchronous sort of settings that you will have the opportunity to engage with. So I think it's important to know that sometimes there is a feeling of being a little bit disconnected in the online space, but having as few as 15 students will really make it feel nice and intimate for you. Faculty are scholars and practitioners in their field, and there is a big emphasis on our learning community with theory and practice as well. Student support looks exactly the same as it would if you were an in-person student. So again, I really want to highlight that for folks, whether this is your first time engaging in the online space or maybe you are accustomed to this. At UNH, we want to make sure that you are set up for success. So you will be assigned an academic advisor. You will have a very tight-knit community within the Carsey School, but Sanjeev Sharma will be your academic advisor. That will be your person that will walk through what courses are looking like for you throughout your time in the program, anything related to registration, and really making sure that you are on top of your academic journey and setting you up for success. And success looks different for different people. So depending on what you may be juggling, also the rate at which you're taking your courses. Some students take 2 classes at a time. Some students take 1 class. So it's really your journey to establish for yourself in partnership with your academic advisor. So you do have that support person right by your side the entire time. IT services is also available to you, and this is something that is available to you online. They are just a phone call away as well. This is a service that will get you out of a jam pretty quickly. I know as a staff member myself, they've gotten me out of pretty much anything you can think of, even something as silly as not remembering your password. And if you need to be on the phone with somebody, they do have live chats. This is a service that is 24/7, so they are very accessible to our students. So thinking about folks coming from near and far, you might be in a different time zone, but again, really making sure that we're reducing those barriers for you. They really are at your fingertips at any time. Library resources are also available to you exclusively online as well. I know I've been talking a little bit about like if you're nearby or if you're far away. For most of you, even if you are in the state of New Hampshire, library resources are so helpful and accessible in the online space. We do have a feature called Ask a Librarian. So anything that you might be needing for your classes to get you set up for success, they are just a click of a button away online. We also have a resource called the Online Writing Lab. This is a really helpful tool, really for anybody, no matter what stage you are in your writing, no matter how advanced you feel, no matter how far removed you've been from school. Anyone can benefit from having as many eyes on their writing as possible. So there is no job too little or too big for the owl, is what we call them. So even if you are thinking about a discussion post through Canvas, which is our learning management system, or if you're writing a very extensive essay, they are really there to meet you where you're at. And then last but certainly not least, we do have career and professional success. I think in terms of your program director, depending on which program you might be in, career advice is going to be something that you are going to have an abundance of. Career and professional success is more of a centralized department that can help with things like mock interviews, getting you set up with your LinkedIn account, getting you set up with a polished resume, maybe a cover letter. So again, I think some of the larger themes with student supports here is folks that are literally in spaces that are there to help you in these designated areas. And then again, meeting you where you're at, no matter how advanced or sort of how beginner level you might be in any of these categories. Financial aid, I think thinking about the hot topic of, how much does this cost, and what are ways that I can drive the cost down. So here you'll see a plethora of different resources for you. I would love, if it's okay with the group, I can certainly share links in the chat to get you more information on what financial aid looks like. I think we are also really proud to offer a range of partner scholarships as well. So some of our graduate students are eligible for up to a 25% discount towards their master's degree. So down here, you'll see what those partnerships look like. So hopefully you can take advantage of driving the cost down of your education. But what I will do is I will pop that in the chat so that you have it. So this is what I'm throwing in there right now is more general, just paying for school. And then if you are more interested in checking out these partnership scholarships, that is that second link that I have thrown in there. I think for financial aid and the topic of how much is this going to cost is a usually pretty unique it's a unique situation on a case-by-case basis. So I think these questions surrounding payment are better served in a one-on-one conversation. We are going to be sharing our contact information at the end of this session. So I really, really encourage folks to reach out, schedule a meeting with us, and we'd be happy to go over what financial aid could look like for you. And then application requirements. So we do have an online application, and that is through the online grad school portal. There is an application fee tied to that. I have a fun surprise later, however, based on that. And then for the programs, we are looking for 2 to 3 professional letters of recommendation. Jolan and Melinda, I don't know if you have any words of wisdom to share on this slide. But what we prefer is usually folks that can speak to your academics, so former faculty, maybe former people that can speak on you as a working professional as well. But like I said, I know program directors usually have a pretty good insight on what they like to see in a successful applicant. We are going to be asking for your college transcripts. At the time of initial application, we do accept unofficial transcripts, but upon being admitted into the program, the graduate school is going to require official transcripts from any and all colleges that you may have attended. We are asking for a personal statement. Once you're in the online application portal, those personal statements will automatically prompt you to the correct questions. So no fear, that will all sort of be in the portal. You can also check out what those questions are on the program pages as well. We are also looking for a current resume as well. Important to note on the bottom, standardized test scores, the GRE are not required. And then English language proficiency tests are required for all of our international students. And then we are now accepting applications for our fall cohort. And the deadline is August 1st. And so there is a rolling admission. So although August 1 is the actual deadline, we encourage you to start your application as soon as you feel ready. And upon submitting your application, you will receive a decision based on when you submit your application. And reach out to us. So we are a team that is very eager to help you navigate the admissions process. We are also so excited to talk with you about the programs themselves. So we know that we threw a lot of information at you today. This is Robin and Anne's contact information. They are a fantastic sort of first line. I know that you most likely have already received information from the online recruitment team. And yeah, that sort of concludes at a high level, like the information that we wanted to share with you.